today's practice is, of course, kind of centered around gratitude, which is not unusual for this time of year. But we're going to come back to that style of practice that I like to call deep, slow, and intentional. And we're going to play in some not necessarily stronger spaces. We're going to work through mostly core and hamstring type shapes today, with a focus on stillness at the beginning and the end of practice. So we're going to start on our back in a shape that's comfortable for you, for maybe constructed resting pose, maybe it's Shavasana, and we're just going to come to stillness. So as you come down, shift and move, you might notice soreness, stiffness in the body. Just move and shift until you can come to a space where you can be still. Let your breath move to the nose. And as you're paused here, how are you receiving this? Maybe you can deepen the breath. Maybe a sigh is needed to let go of everything. Whatever is making you feel restricted, whatever might be binding you. Relaxing all the muscles, releasing all the tension. And just gently observing the dimension of your breath. The direction, the depth. And sometimes as soon as you pause and come to this space of stillness, maybe a restlessness reaches up, just keep taking those heavy sighs so that can clear and shift out. Like to-do lists or things that aren't part of this moment pop into the mind space. Just imagine scooping it out. Maybe there's a suitcase beside you and you tuck those things away in that case, close it and lock it. Just push it to the side. None of that is part of this now. Let's take one more really intentional breath here. Let your body fill all the way up to the top of the lung space. Take a big, heavy sigh. Wiggle the fingers. Move the toes. You might drop the head side to side. Draw the right knee in towards the chest. You can take fingers over the knee. You might leave the left foot either on the floor or take it long. Half happy baby. We're reaching for the inner arch of the foot, and if that is not accessible, then turn your palm towards the top of your mat and just place it to the inside of your knee, to the back of your calf. We're letting the knee fall out towards the outside ribs. The left hand can come out to the side as your balance. This is easy and gentle. We're not drawing down hard, slowly starting to reach into the hips, coming back to the shift in the breath. One more breath here. And if the left foot is not already on the floor, bend the knee and bring it there. We're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee, coming towards figure four, picking up the legs, drawing them towards the body. You might reach through that space and find the hands behind the thigh or over the shin. If that seems really far away as we warm up, you might reach them up and over the knee. Just feeling into the outside line of the right leg through the hip, and maybe you take a very slow, intentional rock from one side to the other and find some more depth, maybe that really juicy space that feels good to reach into through that outside line of your thigh. If you shift it to one side, bring yourself back to center so you feel your sacrum root down. We're going to release the hands so the left foot finds the mat. Turning this into a twist, shift your hips towards the right and just splay the knees into a version of a twist that's going to feel good for you. So maybe you come into twisted roots, maybe you stack the knees as you start to let them fall over towards the left side. See if you can leave your shoulders heavy to the floor. Maybe draw the left one out from underneath to create a little bit more space to the heart. And then at the side, find a home for the arms. Take a very slow but complete inhale. Feel the ribs expand. Through the nose, release that last breath, and then start to bring yourself back to center. So both feet find the floor, align the spine. And then we switch sides. The left knee comes in towards the chest. The right leg can stay on the mat or come long. And we change this into our half happy baby. So the foot rises, you take either behind the calf or maybe the inner arch of that foot, and the right hand becomes your counter. If you have the foot, remember that's just a gentle weight, letting the knee naturally fall to the outside of the ribs. No striving. And if the right leg is long, bend the knees so the foot comes to the mat, turning this into figure 4. We cross the left ankle over the knee. Pick everything up, find your bind. Let the shoulders melt back down towards the floor. Maybe you explore that little rock from side to side. It's very small movement, but you might find a space where it's just exactly what you need to feel through the outside of the left hip, the IT band. Breathe into that space. See if you can relax the legs, the core, the glutes, just a little bit with this last breath. Bring yourself back to center. Release the bind. The foot comes down so we can shift the hips towards the left and then start to turn this into the twist that feels good for you this morning. Draw the right shoulder out from underneath the body, and with a sigh, find that home for your arms. Take a complete breath right up into the top of the lungs. Feel the side rib open right up so the heart lifts. Through the nose, slowly let it go. Bring yourself back to center, feet to the mat. Align the spine. Knees come to chest. Give yourself a squeeze, maybe a rock. Cross the low back, sacrum. And then we're going to rock up and down the length of the spine. And let the feet come to the floor. This is our boat flow. We're going to lean back. So hands behind the knees, long spine, squeeze the shoulder blades back, reach through the crown of the head. You start to come towards that tailbone space, but we don't want to round or collapse. Feel like someone's drawing you forward from the top of your ribs. And then the feet come off the floor. Squeeze the thighs together. Your legs might stick together if that works for you. Squeezing the shoulders back. Option here to take the hands away. If you're really strong in this pose, you might lengthen out your legs, but make sure that you're not collapsing through the back, and keep breathing. One more breath. Hands behind the knees, feet down, open into bound angle, and just let the spine round forward over the legs. Coming back up, we're going to take that again. So feet to the mat, choose your variation, lift the heart with a breath, start to move in. Your toes could stay down on the floor, and you could be lifting. You could be feet lifted with the hands behind the knees. You could have your hands removed. Squeeze the thighs together. Lift from the upper ribs. Slow breath. One more. Fight for it. Hands behind the knees, feet together. Let it go. Coming back to center. We're going to cross the ankles, come towards hands and knees, and then make your way into a wide child's pose. So big toes are going to touch. Knees are wide, maybe just wide enough for the ribs, maybe much wider. Send the hips all the way back to the heels. The arms are forward. Big sigh. Lengthen out the spine. And walk the hands forward, right up onto tented fingers. So you lengthening out the whole upper body. Send the hips back a little bit. Lift the head off the floor so your upper body is engaged. Take a big breath here. We're going to walk towards the right. So the knees, the hips stay where they are. We're opening through the left side of the body. When you found that depth of a side bend, try and keep the shoulders square-ish to the floor and let yourself be heavy back down. Breathe into that side line. And if it dissipates and you feel like you need a little bit more, cross the left hand over the right. Might be a lot, so choose wisely. Inhale, let's lift the head again off the floor. Come back onto those tinted fingers. Move them slowly. Just take some upper bicep, upper back, moving all the way towards the left this time, reaching into that side bend. Once you've found the depth that works for you, let the shoulders square and the upper body comes back down. Breathe. And if you need that little extra, maybe the right hand crosses over the left. Last breath right here. Coming back to the tented fingers. So press into the floor, lift the head. Feel this in the upper arms. Walk yourself back towards the top of your mat. And then the hands come down. We're shifting forward into a wide table. So the knees are still wide. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Spread your fingers. Lift the gaze so that your head is not dropping down, but it's an extension of the spine. We're going to bring the knees underneath the hips. Just take a few cat and cow here. Squeeze the shoulder blades back, lift the heart and the tail as the core drops round. Tying this to your own breath. Slow movement through the spine. One more right here, and then coming to a neutral spine. We're going to tuck the toes under and slowly shift back into down dog. So the knees can be bent a lot. Bring the length from the tailbone all the way down through the fingers and slowly walking out your dog. So bending one knee and straightening the other. Moving really slow to do this. We're not pedaling a bike. We're slowly opening up the full back line of the legs. And then letting the heels start to get heavy. Knees never need to straighten. Finding your full version of a down dog. One more breath here, really working with the depth of our breath through practice today. Gaze comes between the hands. Let's just walk all the way up towards the top of your mat. Find yourself in a ragdoll. Slight bend in the knees. Let everything hinge from the hips and hang down. So if you're really high and you're rounding from the upper back, bend the knees and then bend at the hips and let everything hang. Move the weight in towards the balls of the feet and your toes rather than your heels. Maybe you take opposite elbows. You might sway or move if that feels good. Then let the arms go, let them hang towards the floor. Root down the base of the big toe. Let's come all the way to stand. Roll the shoulders back, leave the arms down, coming up into mountain. Let the eyes close. Come back to that space of breath, stillness. One more breath. Okay, and bring some movement back in. You could shift your space on the mat just a little bit if you like, make any adjustments, maybe a sip of water. We're gonna take a wrist release from standing. So the feet are about hip width. You wanna be really comfortable in the lower part of your body. And we're gonna interlace fingers, draw the elbows away, and feel like you're gently pulling the arms away from each other. So your fingers are extending, the wrists are extending, they're not bent at all. You want them to be a long extension right through to the elbows. We've done this seated before. Take a slow breath here. And then the right wrist moves forward. So the hinging comes at the wrist and the left wrist comes in towards the body. Slow breath here. You're going to feel this mostly through the outside of the right wrist. Keep the elbows lifted. Don't let them drop down. And then drawing back to center. Keep pulling the hands away from each other so its movement is coming from the wrists, but the extension comes from the elbows, and then change direction. Left wrist forward, right wrist towards the heart. Slow breath. Inhale, let's switch again. Moving this a little quicker. Right wrist forward. With the breath, switch it, left wrist forward. Coming back to center. We're going to take the palms down. We're going to do the same thing, but on a different plane. Inhale, the right wrist moves up, left wrist comes down. Don't let the flexion come from the fingers, let it come from the wrists. We keep drawing the hands apart from each other. Inhale through center and switch. Left hand up, right wrist down. And then speeding this up a little bit. Inhale, switch, right on top. And switch again, left up, right down. Inhale, come through center. Pull the fingers apart, wiggle them, roll through the wrists. We're gonna come arms out into a T. Cross the left arm over the right, wrap them around, walk your fingers towards what feels like trying to interlace them into the middle of your spine. Really, really tight hug here. Lift the elbows just a touch. Take a full breath here. And we're going to turn this into eagle arms. So the elbows are crossed with the left arm over top. You might adjust it. Right arm is underneath. You can bring back of hands to back of hands. You could wrap them into eagle arms. And if this isn't available, then you stay with that nice tight hug. Take a big breath here. See if you can lift your elbows just a little bit. We're going to shift the weight into the left foot. Pick up the right knee and wrap it around into eagle. Start to sit back into this shape. Lots of balance. Hinging at the hips, sending them back towards the back of the mat, squeezing the thighs together. And if there's a real challenge in your balance, you find yourself falling forward, lift the heart, lift the chin, lift the elbows, but then sit. Slow breath. Just one more breath here. Don't rush it. Slow, deep breath in. Squeeze the sit bones, squeeze the core. Come up to stand. Unwrap the arms, take them out into a T. Let's reach them all the way up. Half salutations. Exhale, we're gonna hinge at the hips. So we're not rounding through the spine, we're hinging at the hips, drop the heart down towards the big toes. Inhale to flat back. So you either walk your hands up your shins, squeeze the shoulder blades back, no rounding in the upper back. Send the sit bones back, feel the core turn on. Exhale, fold. Bend at the knees, come all the way up. Gaze up towards the thumbs. And then dive. While I was traveling, I listened to a podcast with a yogi named Indu Aurora that's come to flat back. And she is a very well-known and well-respected yogi and Ayurvedic specialist. Take the fold. Bend the knees. Let's come all the way back up to stand. And she said something interesting about sun salutations that really stuck with me. Take the gaze up to the thumbs. One more half salutation, dive down. She said that sun salutations are a greeting. Inhale to a flat back. And that this idea of doing 108 sun salutations is just so odd. She said, would you say hello 108 times? Exhale, fold back down nice and deep. So we are going to do some sun salutations today. Bend the knees a lot. Let's come all the way up, stand. But we're going to just use them as a greeting. Just a few to say hello to the body. And exhale down through heart. We're going to take the arms back out into a T. This time we're going to wrap the right arm over top of the left, walking the fingers towards the mid-spine. Inhale, lift the elbows just a bit. It's so really enlightening in your own practice to hear people who know and have practiced for decades take such a fresh viewpoint of something like a sun salutation. Let's take this into eagle arms, elbows over elbow. You can come back of hands, you can come palm to palm, or you can stay with the arm wrap. See if you can lift your elbows just a little bit, and with that, lift the heart and the chin. And then slowly start to change this also into eagle legs. So we cross the left leg over the right, squeeze the thighs together. If you have the ability to hook that toe, awesome. If not, that's not a big deal. Keep squeezing the legs and then sit back. If you have that inclination to tip forward, lift the chin, lift the heart, breathe, squeeze the sit bones. They give you stability. Squeeze the thighs together. Feel the core turn on. And if you fall out, that's okay. Just go back in. One more deep breath here. Inhale, unwrap the legs, unravel the arms. Let's take them all the way up. Slow breath here, and let's dive down. Just taking 1.5 rounds of salutations. Inhale, come to flat back. Exhale, fold. We're going to bend the knees a lot. Hands come to the mat. Let's step right back into plank pose. Both feet back. The knees can come down or they can be lifted. Shoulders over the wrists. Spread the fingers. Lift the chin away from the chest. Let's take 2 breaths here. Be really strong. And then lower slowly all the way to the ground. Untuck the toes, shoulders back. Come up into your first cobra. This might be really shallow. You may be feeling warm and have lots of space. Lead with the heart, then the gaze. Take a full breath here. Exhale down. Then tuck the toes. Come either through table or push up. Shift back to down dog. Take a breath. Gaze between the hands. Let's walk all the way up to the top of the mat. Hinging at the hips to fold. Bend the knees a lot. We come all the way to this stand. Sweep the arms up overhead. And then dive back down. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, hands to the mat. Right foot back, runner's lunge. Let's take a moment here. Send the heel back. The front knee over the ankle. The hips drop. The neck is an extension of the spine. Hands on either side of that front foot. We're going to step back to plank. Shoulders over the wrists. Knees can be up or down. Take a breath. Lower all the way to the floor. Shoulders back. Cobra. Breathe through the heart space here. Exhale down. Coming through table or push-up. Shifting back to downward facing dog. Weight comes into the left foot, right foot up into the air, three-legged dog. Move the heart towards the standing big toe. We're going to bring the knee forward, stepping back into runner's lunge. Help the foot if it needs. Take a breath. Back foot steps up, fold. Bend the knees, rise all the way up. Gaze to the thumbs, and then we're going to dive all the way back down. Last one. Coming through your flat back. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees a lot, hands to the floor, left foot back this time. Runner's lunge, we were just here, knee over the ankle, press the heel back, lengthen the spine. Hands to the floor, we're going to step back into plank. Knees are up or down. Lengthen out the body, chin away from the chest. Take a strong breath here. All the way down. Squeeze the shoulder blades back, cobra. Come back down to the mat. Through table or push-up. Downward facing dog. We're going to shift the weight into the right foot, left foot up into the air, three-legged dog. Feel the heart move towards the standing big toe. Really press into the hands. Get that heel nice and high. When the knee comes forward, we're going to step into runner's lunge. Help it if it needs. Find your way back into that really delicious structure. Press the heel back, take a breath. Then step the back foot up. Find your fold. Bend the knees a lot. Let's come slowly up to stand. Exhale through heart. Let's close the eyes, take 3 breaths here. If you need a sip of water, if you need to make any adjustments. If you need to adjust the location of your blocks, you want to have them close towards the top of your mat, now is a great time to do that. Coming back into mountain pose. With an inhale, we're going to sweep arms up. Exhale, hinge at the hips and fold. Come to that flat back. Take a breath here. Notice if you're rounding your spine, draw the heart down towards the floor, send the hips back. Take the fold, bend the knees, hands to the mat, right foot back, runner's lunge. Drop the knee, release the toe. Inhale, lift the heart, dragon pose. So your shoulder can be over the hip, over the knee, or you start to send the hips towards the top of the mat, really opening up this whole front line, arms in the air, or at heart, or on that front knee. Make it your own. Come back to that deep dimension of breath. One more breath here. Inhale, maybe take a little back bend. And then the hands come back down to frame the front foot. You could come to blocks wherever your hands land. Try and leave them there. We're going to shift back into our half split. So your front leg never needs to straighten, but you want to be able to feel this through the back of that hamstring. So come into the version that feels appropriate. Maybe there's blocks under the hands to give you more space to get here. And then when you do, draw your right hip forward just a little bit. You feel the left thigh draw back into that hip socket. See if you can lengthen your spine, almost like you're sending your chin towards your big toe. One more breath. Shift back forward into that low dragon. We're going to tuck the toe, lengthen the back leg, and step it forward just a little bit. Turn the foot onto just a slight 45-degree angle. We're going to press all the way up into warrior one. So as you come up, you might adjust your stance. We want to see if we can really sink into this warrior. So if you need to move your back foot back to get more depth, reach the hands up, open the heart, press to the outside of your back foot. If you can, bring your hands towards each other. If your shoulders don't do that, that's okay. Maybe you interlace the fingers and index fingers stand up. See if the gaze might come up a little bit. Lift the heart. Maybe you sink a little deeper in this lunge. A little bit of a back bend. One more breath. We're going to release the hands and straighten the front leg. Back foot's going to step up. We're going to turn this into pyramid pose. So your feet are on separate tracks, cross-country skis. We want to square the hips towards the top of your mat. Blocks can be really handy here. We're going to get tall on the inhale. The movement comes from your hips. Take the hips, sit bones back, the heart forward. Come forward until you feel like you're going to round and stop there. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Same as before, draw the right hip forward, take a breath. Use your core, come back up to center. Inhale a breath. Coming forward again, hinging at the hips, leading with the upper body so the heart reaches forward, the crown of the head is reaching forward. Take a full deep breath here. You might have a micro bend in your front knee if this is really straining that leg. And then let's bring this down so you can come to blocks. If this feels really strong, then you take the right foot back a little bit more. Remember, your blocks have levels, so as we pause here, maybe if you can relax into these spaces and let them slowly open with your breath, you might notice that you need to change the level of your block, but if not, that's perfect too. Or just pausing here, coming into that space of breath and stillness. See if you can release the neck and just let the head go wherever you might be. Remember that front knee does not have to be straight. We're looking to feel into the hamstring in the back of the front leg. And that is how you structure yourself. Make this your own practice. One more breath here. Shift this forward into a lunge. So you're bending that front leg. Inhale, we rise all the way up first into warrior one. Let's turn this into warrior two. So that back foot's gonna move so that you're pressing towards the back of your mat. Sink into the front, bend, left hand forward, right hand back. And if this practice today is feeling light and you want a little bit more, sink deeper into this lunge. So the back foot moves back even more. Maybe you see if you can get your front thigh closer to something that's parallel to the floor. And then come back to breath. What rises for you when we pause here in stillness? All that talk that happens in our mind. Just smile, take a breath. Unless you're telling yourself that I can do this, this is great. Look how strong I am. Anything other than that, just laugh at it and let it go. One more breath. Straighten the front leg. We're going to turn this into triangle. So we're going to reach all the way forward. This is a side bend. So we open the ribs and the heart and the shoulders to the long edge of your mat. Drop your front hand down. Maybe you come to a block. Reach the back hand up for the sky. Open the heart. So you want to feel like you're leaning back. So if you feel like your hips are behind you and your heart is forward, swing your hips so they come in line with your feet, and then open your heart and feel like you're leaning back. The gaze can be down towards the floor or anywhere all the way up towards that top hand. That front leg does not have to be straight either. It might have a little micro bend. Come back to that observation of breath, stillness. Just one more breath here. We're going to bend into the front knee and switch our upper body so we come down towards runner's lunge. So on the back toes, move your blocks away. Let's shift the weight into the front foot, and you can just come up towards your ragdoll. If you want a little bit more play, we're going to kick up into standing split. So you put the weight into the left foot, the right foot reaches up to the sky. Hands are on the floor. If you're really great and you want to play today, maybe the left hand comes behind the ankle. If you really want to play, maybe both hands do. I'm not that playful this morning. Take a breath here. Both feet come together. Ragdoll fold. Bend the knees a lot. Let's come all the way up to stand. Maybe there's a little back bend here. We're going to fold all the way back down. Let's come up to a flat back just for a moment. Let it feel good. So maybe you shift and move through it. And as you fold down, we're going to bend the knees, hands to the mat. This time, left foot back. Runners just to find the structure. The knee comes down, release the toe. We're going to shift into your version of dragon. So lifting the heart, you could be stacked through the shoulders and the hip. Maybe you let your hips start to sink deeply forward. Hands can come up or be where it's most comfortable. And if you're feeling a lot of heat, bringing the hands below the heart will really help let some of that dissipate. Take one more breath here. Inhale, maybe you lift the heart. Hands come down to frame the front foot. We take this into our half split. Can have blocks beneath the hands. Hips move back. Front leg lengthens. Toe heels up. When you found your version, that left hip comes forward. You're going to feel more on the extended leg. Last breath here. Coming forward back into our lunge. We're going to tuck the back toe under and extend the leg. Step that back foot up. We're going to find our way into our warrior one. Adjust your back foot and then lift the heart. We're not on the back toes. The whole foot is down. It's about a 45-degree angle. Press into the front knee so that it comes over the ankle. Hands up. Maybe you bring palms together or interlace fingers. Inhale, see if you can take your gaze higher. Maybe the heart lifts and you find a bit of a back bend, but then sink deeply back into that front knee. One more breath here. Exhale, release the arms down. We're going to turn this into our pyramid on the side. So you're going to step the back foot forward, find your cross-country skis. Feel really strong here, and then inhale tall. We're hinging from the hips, leading with the heart and the crown of the head. Whenever you start to round, that's where we pause. Feel really strong. Draw the left hip forward. Inhale, come back up. We're going to do that again. You could bring hands to heart. You can take them alongside or leave them on your hips. And as you start to hinge forward, squeeze the shoulder blades back. Adjust the structure of your hips, left one forward. And then let's fold it down. So you have the option for your blocks. If this feels like there's not enough space, maybe the left foot steps back. See if you can let go of the head and neck. Come into that space where you notice the tiniest adjustments. The left hip shifting forward. Releasing the core maybe, or softening your shoulders or your face. One more breath. Bending in the front knee. We're going to turn this into warrior two. So the back foot turns on a stronger angle. So the whole edge of the foot comes towards the back mat. Let's windmill up. Warrior two. Start that little adjustment so that you can sink into the deepest lunge that feels good right now. Want more? That back foot goes back. This front knee comes over the ankle, but maybe you sink really deep so that this front thigh starts to move towards something more parallel with the floor. Reaching the arms, come to breath. And that talk that's coming up, shift it so that you're focused on the breath of the heart space. Gratitude for your practice. Let's start to straighten the front leg. We're going to turn this into our triangle. So reaching forward, opening the ribs, the heart, the shoulders to the long edge of the mat. Come forward in the side bend as far as you can. That front hand drops down to wherever it might be. Thigh, knee, shin, ankle. Back hand reaches up. Remember, the blocks can come under your hand. Now notice if your hips are back and your heart forward, and bring yourself back in line with your legs. Feel like you're leaning back just a little bit, and then let the gaze find a space that feels really okay on your neck, and then settle in there. Slow, deep breath. Bring this practice inward. Watch the dimension of your breathing. You have one more breath here. Gaze comes down to the front foot. Bend slowly into that knee. We're going to turn this into runner's lunge. Hands come down to frame the foot onto the toes of the back foot. Take a breath here. Back knee comes down, release the toe. And then bring the other knee down. Shift this into a version of child's pose. That would feel really good. Just one more little bit of strength this morning. We're going to shift back towards a downward facing dog. Take the gaze between the hands. Step the right foot up into our runner's lunge where we just were. You might step up just into ragdoll, or here's your opportunity to take your standing split on the other side. If you are, you shift the weight into the right foot, kick the left foot up into the air. Hands can be on blocks. And then the play options, maybe the right hand behind the right heel, maybe both. If you're here, see if you can just get that foot just a little bit higher. And then bring both feet together. Take your fold. Bend the knees a lot. Let's come all the way to stand. Leave the hand to the sides. We're going to open the feet towards the outside edges of your mat. I'm going to come down into Malasana just for a moment, just for some release. And if this is really challenging in your body, then just come down into something that looks more like horse, where you're coming down into kind of like a plie. We're going to take a big deep breath and just start to move into your version of squat. So we should be really warm through these spaces. Hips, hamstrings, thighs. See if you can bring your elbows to the inside of the knees. It doesn't matter how close your hips get towards the floor. You could place blocks underneath there. See if you can lift your heart up a little bit. Close the eyes, take this inward. And if your self-talk is saying unkind things about the way this is structured in your body right now, it's perfect in your body right now. This is where you are, and that's exactly the place that you need to be in your practice today. Take one more breath. I'm gonna bring the hands to the floor. Just unwind this. So maybe you lift your hips a little bit before you come down to sit. You might just sit right down. Set the blocks aside. We're going to take the right leg forward, bring the left foot in towards the thigh. And if your hips are rolling back, you can fold your mat over or grab a blanket, tuck it underneath. We're going to fold this forward, head to knee pose. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, hinging from the hips first. Lead with the heart towards that big toe. Take this forward as much as you can without rounding the upper back. Take a breath right there. Maybe reach with the hands, and then let the hands come down wherever they might be. Shins, ankle, maybe you're able to take the toe and let the body round forward, or the foot. If you notice that your leg is rolling in or out, see if you can bring it so the knee and the toes are shining up towards the sky, so we can focus on the back line of the leg. If you're someone who's super bendy, maybe there's another block, but only if you really need it. We're winding down, we're not striving. Let the breath be releasing. Let this be really kind of that comfortable uncomfortableness in your body. So you feel the lengthening, you feel the reaching into spaces, but it's in a good way. It's in a cooling down way. Just one more here. Engage the core just enough to bring yourself back up. We're going to cross the left leg over the right. We're going to take a seated twist. You can leave your right leg long. You can bend it towards your sit bone. It's a personal choice as to how you want to set this up. We're going to wrap the right arm around the left knee. Left hand comes in behind. With a breath, get really tall through the spine. Reach to the crown of the head. And then as you let the breath go, start to gently find your way into your twist. The twist comes from the mid-spine. The sit bones stay where they are. Try not to lean back on the hand, but continue to grow tall on your inhale and melt into this twist on your exhale. We're going to take 2 more breaths here, and while you're still growing up on your inhale, see if you can relax the muscles through the sit bones, through the legs, through the face. Exhale completely. Come forward, uncross the legs. You can lean back, maybe you just wave the feet from side to side. And then the left leg is long and the right one comes in. Adjust the sit bones, lift the heart. And then hinging from the hips, the heart moves forward, reaching, trying to keep that long spine. Inhale, reaching. Exhale, the hands come and land wherever they may be, knees and toes, shining upward around the spine. Settle in. One more breath here. Engage the core, lift yourself upward, coming into the twist on the other side. So right leg crosses, left leg can be long or bend to the side. Left arm wraps, right arm behind, inhale. And then find your way in your twist. 2 more breaths here. Relaxing things that are really strongly engaged, releasing the face. Exhaling completely. And then coming forward. Uncross the legs. We're gonna come all the way down. You could stay in constructed resting pose. You could come to Savasana. We're going to take some time in stillness today. So shift and move. Find your way into a space where you can be still. Let the shoulder blades tuck under. Let the arms just splay out, come to your sides. The palms can turn up. If you're cold, grab a blanket. Let your eyes close down. And just start to feel. Feel the floor beneath the backs of your hands, your shoulders, your head. The weight of your heels on the floor. Feel where you might still be holding on to tension and let your breath help you sweep it away. And then as we move into Shavasana, let's just take a moment to consider the practice of gratitude. It becomes almost cliche, especially this time of year. And it's always so easy to find things and give gratitude when life is fantastic and there's not a lot of stress and things are just going easy. But the real practice of gratitude comes when things aren't easy, or in those moments when we're overwhelmed or stressed or sad. And gratitude can be for the tiniest thing, and that little spark can change everything about how you're feeling in that moment. It can be a butterfly fluttering by a window when the world feels like it's falling apart. It can be for yourself to acknowledge that you need a moment and just step out and close your eyes and come back into a space like this where you're still and you breathe and you just let whatever it is slip away for just a moment. So as you move into our quiet stillness, I will invite you to try a mantra or an affirmation that just says, I am grateful. Let it repeat in your mind, really slow with your breath. See what you receive. See how that makes you feel. See what comes up for you. Everything is perfect. Even if it makes you angry, if 1,000 things float through your mind, it's all exactly as it should be. Take a slow, deep breath in. As you let it go, I am grateful. Noticing again how you feel, what you feel, the connection of your body against the floor, the dimension of your breath, the air over your skin. Just acknowledging what might have risen for you if you used our mantra to slip into Savasana. Moving fingers, toes, starting to move through wrists and ankles. Letting the head drop from side to side. Arms overhead. Point the toes into a big, deep stretch. And then you might come to your side first before pressing up to seated, or just making your way there. And as you arrive, lift the heart, close the eyes, and take a sigh. We'll close by bringing hands to heart. As always, you do have my gratitude for allowing me to guide your practice, for joining me. I do appreciate every time we get to spend time together in practice. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Take good care. I'll see you soon.